welcome to Strange Talk with Doc. Let's take a couple of minutes to talk about why it's never too early to start a project. And if you start a project, why you should keep grinding, keep hustling no matter what. When you start any project, if it's a personal project, if it's a project for work, it's a project for school, it's a project for life, period. It's a project that entails a part of your life, no matter how big or how small. The first thing you got to do is you got to plan. What is your end goal for this project? Then you start preparing to set the things up to make this project successful, because we always want to be successful in any project that we start, right? What's your motivation for starting the project in the first place? Is it because it's financial, you need a grade, or is it something personal that you want to accomplish? You need to keep these things in your mind. See, this helps with your preparation. This helps with how much grind you're going to put, how much hustle you're going to put in. And starting the project too soon gives you ample opportunity to mess this project up over and over, to situate yourself, to refocus, to replan it. See, people who wait to the very end, they have to run with what they prepare. They don't get the ample opportunity to go over this time and time again. See, this is just me. This is how I live. I know what underwears, t-shirt, and socks I'm going to wear tomorrow. Everything in my life is planned out beforehand if I can possibly do so. I don't believe in waiting to the last minute or showing up late to anything. If you have some place to be, late is 15 minutes early to me. That's just the way I live my life. Everybody can't live like that. Some people like to put on a performance and show up 5 minutes late so all eyes are on them. Me, I like to be there before the show starts. See, because with these projects, you have to think about it. You have an investment, your personal investment. Your name is stamped on everything that you do in this life. So make sure that that stamp of approval that you put on something is the very best. See, this gives you options. I mean, the option is that you're not going to be a guaranteed success in any project you start, no matter if you start it 5 years in advance. It could still fail. But that's why you have to retool. You have to fix. You have to do things to make it successful. I've had a podcast now for 5 years. And as far as I'm concerned, I do pretty well with my listener numbers. I do horribly, and I'm the first one to admit, with my YouTube numbers. Now, there's a thing that I could do to probably bump up my YouTube numbers by going live, letting people see who I am. But I choose not to do that. That is not a part of that's not an investment that I'm willing to make. That's not an option that I'm willing to look into, because I want my anonymity to a certain degree. You see my caricature or my logo, and that's it. I don't really want people walking around and saying, "You're Strange Talk with Doc Guy." No, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking to put out some information. This is just a part of my personal hustle. This keeps my mind fresh. This is something that I enjoy doing. But don't think that there's too early to start a project. Put it to you this way. If you go to my website, you will see that I have an end show for 2022, which won't be taped to December 30th. I started setting this thing up in December 30th of 2021, so that I am prepared at the last minute. I don't have to figure out what was the biggest news stories, what was the best music, what was the best sports stories. I have that all listed and logged already. Then I can pick and choose what topics I want to discuss to make that show the very best that I can make it. I just want you to think about this. I want you to think about motivation, preparation, planning, grinding, hustling, not giving up, starting early, refocusing if you need to, the investment of your time. What do you want the completion of your project to be looked at upon? What are your options to make sure that it's successful? And once again, Just because you put in a lot of time, energy, effort, sweat, blood, and tears does not mean that anything is guaranteed success. But is the success that you finished and you finished early in your mind good enough for you? And if it is, then fine, you can run with that. That is not a problem. Just never give up on something that you want. Never quit on something you want because it's not going the direction that you wanted to today. You don't know what door opens tomorrow. See, here's the thing. You don't need 5 million viewers. You don't need 10 million listeners. You don't need 5,000 subscribers. You know what you need? You need one right person. One right person who has a key to a door that you cannot get in. Could you imagine? Your podcast is not beloved, or your show is not beloved, your book is not beloved by anybody, but a publisher, a certain podcast organization hears you, and they say that you're the right fit for their organization, and they trump the 5,000. They trump the 10,000 viewers. They're the ones who could put money on the dotted line for you and change your absolute lifetime. It doesn't take 10 million people to change your lifetime. It takes one person, the right person. And if you do something that turns the ear or the eye of that one right person, you will be fine. Just don't give up again. Never quit. Never say that you're wrong. If you feel like you're doing something that comes from a right and righteous place, continue with it. So I just wanted to talk about this dude, and I appreciate you sticking with me through that. I hope that helps somebody. I hope that helped somebody, including myself. When I think about starting a project, I need to refocus, rethink, retool, and say to myself, Doc, make sure you get this thing off so that you have ample opportunity to change the mistakes that you're making along the way, because we don't start our projects with the perfect mindset. That's why we edit. That's why we edit. There's a word called edit. Redo, rewrite, retool. Okay? So this Elijah Dixon, 22-year-old dude from Indiana, who was the hero for shooting that Jonathan Spearman, who was 20 years old, after he gunned down 3 people and wounded 2 people last Sunday in that Greenwood Park Mall. I'm hoping that this young man, Elijah Dickens, does not come up on criminal charges. And the reason I say he could even possibly come up on criminal charges is because he did take a loaded weapon inside a mall. And for most places in America, you cannot enter a mall property with your gun. I know in Raleigh, North Carolina, you cannot enter, say, Crabtree Valley Mall with a gun. You're out of pocket. You can be arrested. It would be a misdemeanor if you're a license holder. It probably is a felony if you're an unlicensed holder. But you know what? Sometimes things work out the way they do. I don't know what made this young man feel that everywhere he goes, he must have a gun. Because you know what? You go to a doctor's office, you leave it in your car. It's kind of standard fare. But you know what? Maybe he's the type who actually even brings it up to the doctor's office, because he said he'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. But that's on him. But I'm hoping that the state of Indiana doesn't look down upon him for this, that the Department of Justice doesn't force their hand to do anything to him in this instance. Now, let's go to this. One of the worst fathers that I've heard of in a long time, Sadat Johnson. He's 27 years old. He's from Utah. He gets into some kind of dispute at McDonald's. Allegedly, he pulled out a gun on a McDonald's employee over an order. But at the same time, this man has his 4-year-old child witness all this. So his child, while he's being detained by the Utah police in whatever city this is, his son, out of fear, being taught, I don't know, I was not there, I'm just guessing, decides to open fire on a group of police officers. This is a 4-year-old child who's already thinking about shooting at cops because somebody's harming his father. Now, Should he protect his family when he becomes an adult? Sure, he should learn the tools to protect his family when he becomes an adult. But he's a 4-year-old. He should not be anywhere near a firearm at the age of 4. And so, Doc Johnson, you are a horrible father. I hope the state of Utah looks into your whole complete situation in your home, how you manage your weapons inside that home, how you had them unlocked or locked, how you had ammunition stored. The mother of this child should be looking to go down to services if she was thinking about getting away from this man, because this is outlandish. That little boy could have been shot back by police, them not knowing where these shots are coming from. And at 4 years old, he could have been a victim of fire by cops, a death, a 4-year-old, basically just a little over a toddler. He should not have fired his first weapon in his life at this age. We had this guy in the Bronx, Raymond Chesterson. He's 18 years old, doing this stupid ass Orbeez challenge. He was shot and killed by a corrections officer, off-duty corrections officer, Dion Middleton, who was the age of 45 in the Bronx. Now, Mr. Middleton is a fucking complete and absolute fucking idiot for killing a kid and then going to work and acting like nothing happened when he is a trained law enforcement officer who understands a shoot. He understands a right to shoot. He understands a bad shoot. Now, Raymond got caught up in some stupid shit. You do not take these water guns or whatever the fuck they are and put these pellets in. And if you're not playing with certain people, you do not fire upon them with these pellets. And that's what they're claiming has happened. And I'm never going to always go with the side of the law on this. But Middleton has been charged so far with murder because all he had to do was say, I could not tell. The muzzle on this thing is black. I couldn't tell if it was a real firearm being shot at me or not. But to go on and act like he did nothing, this is hit and run with a gun. I mean, so in a way, he threw his life away. Now, I can understand defending yourself, but to throw your life away, and this is a lesson for anybody who gets involved with a shooting. You wait for law fucking enforcement to show up. When they come, do not be armed. Have that weapon somewhere that they can clearly see that it is no longer attached to you. If that means you have to take the clip out and lay it down or put it in your vehicle, you do that, but you do not run. You do not leave the scene of a shooting. If it be your home, your car, a parking lot, you do not leave the scene of a shooting unless your life is further in jeopardy by people trying to retaliate. You do not. And he knew better than this. Dion Middleton knew better than this. And forever, his life will be changed. I never like to tell you to go out there and gamble. I never like to tell you to do anything with your money because it's not my right to do so. But Mega Millions on Tuesday, July 26th, will be $790 million. For $2 to have the opportunity to change not only your life, but your great-grandchildren's life, don't you think it's worth the stinking $2? Who knows? You might win, you might not win. And if all you lost was $2 and went to bed that night with great dreams, it was well worth it. So we are in the midst of a hell of a heat wave. I mean, Texas and Oklahoma hit records of 115 degrees. The UK has been breaking records of having the hottest heat wave days in their history. It put certain parts of the UK in a national emergency state. We got further days of heat waves coming here in America. Be cool out there. If you don't have to go out and do some physical activity, try not to do it. You know, it's going to cost you some money to run your AC, but run that AC. This ain't the time to be driving with your fucking windows down. Spend the money on gas and plump your AC. Dress cool, stay cool, keep your head on straight. Don't build your temperature up where you suffer from heat stroke. Your family needs you, man. Your family needs you, lady. Your family needs you, sir. So be smart. Just be smart. Stay hydrated. Make sure you keep plenty of fluids and try not to overfluid yourself because you know water poisoning can get you. And I'm going to say congratulations to Giancarlo Stanton for winning the All-Star Game MVP. Finally, this dude is paying some dividends for the New York Yankees. And if you know me, I'm a huge New York Yankee fan, so it's good to see Stan and Judge playing the way they're playing right now. LeMahieu could even play better, but for them to have a 12 and a half game lead at this point in the season, I'm ecstatic as a Yankee fan. I'm seeing bright things. Maybe we could bring home number 28 this year. We'll see. I've been watching biographies of WWE legends, and so far I watched The Undertaker, the Goldberg, and the Bellatwins. The Undertaker was an all right one, but it's standard fare. You pretty much knew everything about him, other than some things with him and his mother. Goldberg, you learned a lot more than I've ever known. I never knew that Goldberg was from the Midwest. He was from Oklahoma, Tulsa. I didn't really know that he was such a big deal as a football player. I knew he played football, but I didn't know he was such a big deal. The Bella twins, I learned a lot about them. Unfortunately, one of them had some sexual abuse problems. I didn't know that one of them was a very good soccer player, but it's well worth your time to watch the WWE Legend. Season 1 was very good, but season 2 so far has been very good also. I watched Captain. The Captain. This is the Derek Jeter's version of, you had the Michael Jordan, you had the Magic Johnson. Now we have Derek Jeter. So far, the first 2 episodes have been released, and it's very good. I mean, it brought me back to the heyday of the 1990 Yankee teams. It took us through Major League. It dealt with him being an interracial child. It dealt with him being able to handle the pressures of New York, the women. I mean, so far, so good. These documentaries have been very well put together. I watched Better Call Saul, and I guess we could say goodbye to Kim. Kim's story ended with Saul. It had to end. Kim is not a good person. Sal's a worse person than she is. And we found out that Gus is gay. Who the fuck cares that Gus is gay? Gus is more curmudgeon than he is a homosexual. Uh, we've never seen Gus even remotely look like he takes the grimace off his face. And for the way that they revealed the gay angle with Gus was kind of weak. It wasn't through a kiss. It wasn't through a handhold. It was just through, an artsy way of flirting with another man. And, it didn't make sense. But for those sycophants who remember Breaking Bad and they go back and they say, well, he gave hints when he had his business partner who always seemed like more of a business partner die and how Gus handled that. So Gus is gay. Okay, we got that. American Horror Stories returned, and their first episode was a very creepy episode called The Dollhouse. If you haven't seen it, I really don't want to give away too much on it, but it dealt with humans and a dollhouse and a very sick individual and how he conducted his business with this dollhouse. You know what? American Horror Stories, these are the one-offs. Each one will have its own beginning, middle, and end. And then they go on to another episode. These are not episodic at all. So, but they all refer back to American Horror. One way, shape, or another, they link back to the original show, American Horror. So I say, if you get a chance, check that out. And this week on The Shot, Trig, love of transsexual women came into play. It was a big topic of discussion on this week. Not only that, Trig took in a kid who really doesn't get along well with his younger brother, and we got to see how that plays out. But Trig did pose a very important question, something that I never thought about because it doesn't affect my life at all. But he said, what do you call the men who like transsexual women? And no answer was given, even though the show is ran by a person who is a member of the LGBTQ community. And the best that I can come up with is that they are queer. Because if it's a transsexual woman and it has not had complete surgery, they still have male parts below, female parts above. They walk around looking somewhat like women, some of them, but they have a penis, and this penis might have the ability to still get erect. And I don't know what Trig's lovemaking skills are. I mean, does he take? Does he receive? I don't know. They're not going to go into that type of thing on the show, and that makes sense. But that is a good question. If somebody has the answer, please reach out to me and let me know, what do you call the men who walk around who proclaim to be straight but still like transsexual women who have their male parts? What are they called? I would say they would be the queer, but I could be wrong. Please let me know. Kyler Murray signed a new contract. 5 years, $230 million contract. I believe 160 is guaranteed, and that averages out to $46.1 million a year, which makes him the second highest paid quarterback or player in the whole NFL. That's until Lamar signs his contract. We know Lamar is going to get 275, 300, something like that whenever he does. Now, for Kyler to get this contract, and he is yet to win a playoff game, but he is one of the stars of the league. I'm not hating on Kyler getting his money. I mean, the NFL owners get their money. Why shouldn't the players get their money? But should there be other guys who probably make more money than him? Yes. He set the market. Everybody's not going to get Aaron Rodgers 50, but you know what? Like I said, Lamar Jackson is still unsigned. We know he's not taking a dollar less than $46.1 million a year. So next week, Ric Flair, last match is going to be him, Andrade, versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. That's going to be on the 31st. I'm sure it's going to be aired somewhere. I don't know where it's going to be. Ric Flair is 73 years old. He's doing promos where he's being beaten and bloodied in parking lots, which I think he should be way past that. He should be able to do a promo that doesn't involve blood. It doesn't involve blading. I mean, a man with that much experience and stuff like that in wrestling, he should have been able to do this in a different way, a little bit more classy way. I mean, is he going to do a hardcore match at the age of 73? And that's why I guess this is now going to be a tag team match with his real life son-in-law, Andrade, because he can't go in a one-on-one match for say 10, 15, 20 minutes anymore. And nobody's expecting that. And as far as I'm concerned, Ric Flair's retirement match is still with him and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. That will for always and forever be his last match. This is just a money grab. So Vince McMahon, 77-year-old, the chairman and CEO of the WWE, has formally retired from the company. He is now the former chairman and CEO. Vince did a lot of bad shit over the course of his life. Vince has done a lot of shit to wrestlers over the course of his life. But one thing Vince has also done, Vince is responsible for millions and millions and millions of old shit moments, millions and millions of thank you moments, millions and millions of smiles, happiness, and joy to millions of people. And for that, he should never be forgotten. That should be a part of his legacy as much as anything else is part of his legacy. People turn in on Mondays. People used to turn in on Saturdays. People turn in on Sundays for his pay-per-views. And Fridays, Thursdays, they go to shows and they get entertained by the world's best entertainers, WWE superstars, male and female. And he is a big part of why that happens. He's a big part of why they have the best promos, they have the best pyro, they have the best production, sound, audio. I mean, he has put those championship belts where people who win real championships are seen to be just as proud to be presented with one of his title belts as they are while they're holding the trophy. And that says a hell of a lot about the product that they put out. So SummerSlam is going to be this weekend. It's July 30th, and you're going to have Brock Lesnar in the last man standing match versus Roman Reigns. I don't know what they're going to do with this. This is kind of a tricky situation. I don't know how Brock gets down with Triple H and Stephanie, but I don't believe it's time to take the title off of Roman Reigns. Unless Brock is going to be a full timer, this makes no sense. You got the U.S. Championship, and let's not forget, Theory is still running around with the Money in the Bank. You got the U.S. Championship, Bobby Lashley versus Theory. I'd say you let Theory, if they're going to do this, you let Theory win back his U.S. title, but then he loses to either Brock or Roman, which it should be Roman, when he tries to cash in. Because I don't buy Theory being not only the U.S. champion, but the Universal champion. It makes no sense. You got Pat McAfee versus Happy Corbin. It would not hurt Pat McAfee one bit to lose to Corbin. He's an announcer, not a full-time wrestler. And you could have Corbin actually win, but McAfee just put up a hell of a fight. And everybody would still go home happy. Now you have the undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions, the Usos, versus the Street Profits. And for some reason, Jeff Jarrett is the special guest referee. I don't know if on the same night you decide to let the Usos and Roman Reigns both lose their titles, and now the bloodline would have nothing, which makes no sense. I mean, you would kill the bloodline in one evening by making all three members non-champions, unless you are now going to have them pursue the titles leading up to WrestleMania. I mean, that's a question that's above my pay grade. I don't write for wrestling. I just love to watch it. So this should be interesting. Jeff Jarrett, I don't know how he's going to do whatever he's going to do. He does have ties to the Samoan families down in Memphis, so maybe he'll do a switch or some kind of cheat to make sure that the Usos maintain their titles. But the Street Profits are hot right now. This would be a great time to put the belts on them. And you got the Women's SmackDown champion, Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey. This one, I say Ronda Rousey gets her belt back. I don't know if they think of Liv as a long-term champion, but I think they put the title on her to appease the fans, to make the people happy, and to make the people happy for like a month or so, have her run around with the title. While Ronda actually got to take a break, go home for a minute. Looks like Ronda's in better shape. Look like Ronda's lost some weight. It looks like she's taking this shit serious. So, we're good for her. This weekend we had a UFC card. We had Curtis Blades versus Tom Aspinall. This unfortunately ended horribly. Tom Aspinall in the first round suffered a knee injury. I don't know if it was MCL, ACL, what it was, but after throwing a kick, he went down. The fight was called. They gave Curtis Blades a TKO win. I feel bad for Aspinall. His career was going through the roof, and it's just bad. Jack Hermanson for Chris Curtis. They went the distance. Hermanson won that match. Paddy Pimblett submitted Jordan Lovett in the second round. He caught him in a rear naked choke. Jordan Levitt is not going to be hurt in the long run by this. This is a talented, violent, young, weird man, and he will move on. Maybe he'll just work on his strength a little. Patty did seem to be stronger than him. We'll see where it goes from there. I think from now on, Patty has to fight guys who have ranking. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. We have Molly McCann take on Hannah Goldie. Hannah Goldie looks like a bodybuilder. She fights like a bodybuilder. There was no special skill set. Molly McCann to catch her with the spinning elbow after she knocked out her last opponent with the spinning elbow made zero sense to me. That this young lady wasn't prepared for this at all. I don't know if that was a faux pas in her training or what it was, but it made zero sense. Paul Craig lost a decision to Volkan Aldemar. Aldemar seemed to gas Paul Craig out. Paul seemed old in this fight. Paul, maybe he was fighting in front of hometown people. He's Scottish. They were in the UK. I don't know what it was. He just seemed gassed this whole entire fight. He wasn't the best Paul Craig that we've seen. Now, next week, we got a big one, UFC 277. You got Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes for the women's bantamweight championship that Juliana took from Amanda by choking her out. Now, I want to see if Amanda has the dedication, the wherewithal to take her belt back from Juliana. Juliana kind of scares me. She's a very skilled grappler, so I could see Juliana actually beating her. Now, at 145, there's really no challenge for Amanda. And see, if Amanda gets to just say, you know what, I got to stay at 145 and I'm going to be a one belter, you know what, that's not the world's worst thing, because going back between the two classes might wear her out. She seems to love being a mother. She always has her daughter and a woman around her. So we'll see how that goes. And Brandon Moreno is fighting Kai Kara France for the interim flyweight championship. This should be a good match. These are both bleeders. They're both battlers. They both go at it. So I'm expecting a good bout out of that. And Derek Lewis, for the third time in a row, is fighting at home because this is from Texas. He's fighting Sergey Pavlov. Now, Derek Lewis has got to figure out a way to be able to fight in front of his hometown friends and family and actually pull out a victory. The last two times he's actually lost in Houston. This time it's in Dallas, and I believe he's a Houston boy, but he needs to be able to pull out a victory. Now, former Steelers wide receiver and the number one pick, Charles Johnson, died at the age of 50. And former Atlanta Brave member of the 1995 World Series championship team, Dwight Smith, died at the age of 58. He was a pinch hitter for those Atlanta Braves teams. He mostly played for another team, but he did get that World Series for Atlanta. And he wasn't there in 96 when they played the Yankees, but he was there. And I think he had a couple at bats in the World Series. So, you know, I say rest in peace to Mr. Charles Johnson and Mr. Dwight Smith. Now, next week, I'm going to deal with podcasting these last few years has done something to me. Let me repeat that. Podcasting these last few years has done something to me. And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. I will go into detail. I just wanted to put that as a bug in your ear. That's my next show, which will be coming out on 8/1/2022. I appreciate you as I always appreciate you. You don't have to spend any time listening to me, and you did. And for that, I'm grateful to you, my friend. I wish you nothing but the best this week. I wish that things go your direction, that you be good to other people, that so life can be good to you, that you blessed because you are a blessing, that you are light that shines at all times. Day and night, let your light shine, my friend. Shine on, you crazy, crazy, crazy diamond. And I'm going to say, like I always say to you and yours, I wish you nothing but peace.